Hi there, from a cloudy, breezy day, amongst green leaves, in a forest in the springtime. Wherever you are in your day or in the world, I hope you have a soft place to rest and a physical barrier that protects you from the elements and from the upsets of the world at the end of each day. I wish this for you and for every person here and around the globe. Today is Wednesday, May 21st. My name is Grover, and this is Grover Reads the News. I have a news summary for you. Would you like to hear it? If so, keep listening. If not, I'll offer again soon. And with that, here's some news. First, we have U.S. news headlines about natural disasters, prison escapes, and a burning plantation. At least 28 people were killed after a tornado struck down in Kentucky and caused widespread damage in Missouri and Virginia. Storm destruction has hit Kentucky hard these last few years. The Associated Press reports that in 2018, researchers found that deadly tornadoes were occurring less frequently in the traditional tornado alley of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, and more frequently in parts of the more densely populated and tree-filled Mid-South. In other news from the South, 10 people escaped from a New Orleans jail this week, and while I have no commentary on what these people may or may not have done, I will note that Louisiana locks up more people per capita than any independent nation on earth, and the racial disparity of Black people who are jailed or imprisoned in Louisiana compared to white people is stark. As of this news recording, 6 people had been reapprehended by police. And the largest plantation turned wedding venue in the United States has burned to the ground last week. The Nottoway was a sugar plantation built and operated by enslaved people in 1859. But the wedding venue information did not dwell on this particular bit of history, reports The Root, who has also compiled some memes you might want to view that share how some Black people responded to news about this event. Next, we have U.S. federal administration news about immigration, the Supreme Court, and an anti-vax rule change. On Monday, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration can remove temporary protected status from nearly 350,000 Venezuelans. Temporary protected status is granted to people from regions that are so generally dangerous that people cannot safely return home because of war, natural disasters, or other extraordinary conditions. And the temporary protected status generally provides people with deportation protection and access to work permits. A lawyer representing Venezuelan migrants said after the ruling, quote, "This is the largest single action stripping any group of non-citizens of immigration status in modern U.S. history. The humanitarian and economic input of the court's decision will be felt immediately and will reverberate for generations." The court's brief order was unsigned and gave no reasons for the decision, which is typical when the Supreme Court justices rule on emergency applications. No vote count was listed about which justices voted which way. Lawyers representing the migrants argue that the Homeland Security Secretary had no right to bring this case and will continue to fight in the courts for legal protection for Venezuelan immigrants. The Trump administration announced Tuesday that it will limit the number of people who can get COVID vaccine booster shots to adults that are 65 and older, children, and adults with at least one high-risk health problem, breaking from the recommendation that all adults get a booster shot, which is similar to the recommendation that all adults get the flu shot. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is now the head of the United States Health and Human Services Department, wants this restriction on your decisions about your health because he's part of an anti-vax COVID denial wormhole that is now setting our health policy. Next, we have international news about Gaza, Israel, and international responses. Israel allowed a handful of UN humanitarian aid trucks through the 11-week-long blockade this week, allowing shipments that include baby food into the region, where 600 aid trucks had previously entered each day during the months-long ceasefire that Israel ended in March. The UN's humanitarian chief welcomed the move, but stressed that it was only, quote, a drop in the ocean of what is urgently needed, unquote, by the 2.1 million Palestinians in the war-torn territory, where global experts are warning of a looming famine, reports the BBC and the Associated Press. Over the weekend, Israel launched increased air and ground attacks on Gaza, killing more than 100 people. At the same time, at least 100,000 protesters filled the streets of The Hague, home to the International Criminal Court and the Dutch capital, to protest Israel's continued attack on Gaza, and European national leaders are responding with increased restrictions to Israel. Shortly after Israel announced the first trucks had entered Gaza, the UK, France, and Canada issued a sharply worded joint statement calling the aid, quote, wholly inadequate. They threatened concrete actions against Israel, including sanctions for its activities in Gaza and the occupied West Bank, and called on Israel to stop its, quote, egregious new military actions in Gaza. On Tuesday, the UK's Foreign Secretary criticized the new offensive and Israel's restrictions on aid, saying this situation is, quote, monstrous. And then the UK suspended negotiations on a trade deal with Israel. 27 countries in the European Union announced that they will review their trade with Israel. Finally, we have nature news about a lemur-made tick repellent. Lemur parents have some of the same challenges that I do as the weather continues to warm, protecting myself and my loved ones from ticks, which seem to be everywhere, aggressively trying to bite us. Like many primates, lemurs are born to tick and other parasites and the diseases they carry. But the BBC reports that a group of lemur moms have developed a natural tick repellent on their own. They've figured out that carpenter ants, which crawl all over the limbs of trees that they climb on, develop a fiery protective substance when they are agitated. Scientists recently documented lemur moms creating their own natural tick repellent to rub on their baby lemurs by squishing the agitated ants and mixing it with their saliva, rubbing it on their babies. Hooray for innovation. May the ticks stay far away from you, those lemur babies, and your loved ones as well. Thank you for joining me to face the news today. Wherever your day takes you, I hope you are well and able to rise again tomorrow so you can care and fight for the next right and good thing that needs done. And I hope that as you rise, you are also cared for and seen as you need it. The news can be a lot to face, but we don't have to face it alone. We can do it together. If the summary today was valuable, please share it with a friend or give it a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you to those who have been reviewing and leaving stars. I've noticed, and the listenership has increased in response, so thank you. Thank you for considering it and for listening in with me today. Until next time, be well.